for some time. In fact, most of you would be seeing this for the first time. But we used to make a few podcasts, but काफी on and off scene था. But now we're restarting, and basically तीन some types of videos होंगी. This one specific series, basically what we're trying to do is in this series is that we'll try to dissect economic, social, and political issues in Pakistan, and not feed into a specific bias or narrative, but generally how structured institutions should work basically. These are personal opinions obviously, but based on research. So आज we're trying to dissect
media, how fake media creates propaganda and pushes a certain narrative.
Right, so basically how mainstream media जो है that feeds into everyone's life, and उनके लिए झूठ बोलना जो है वो एक काफ़ी detrimental हो सकता है society के लिए. So basically if we try to surface level पे बात करें ना, तो एक media का काम क्या होता है basically? मुझे था.
Essentially यार देखो तो media is the only source जो एक आम बंदे के लिए मीडिया एक ही सोर्स है जिससे उसको इंफॉर्मेशन या कोई इंफॉर्मेशन मिले थ्रू विच दैट पर्सन कैन फॉर्म देयर ओन ओपिनियन.
राइट, तो बेसिकली जो मीडिया होता है ना वो एक वाहिद इंस्टीट्यूट है जो एक लोगों को ना उसका ऑब्जेक्टिव ये होता है एज ए सोसाइटी कि वो एक्यूरेट और करेक्ट इंफॉर्मेशन दे
on a factual basis.
Yes.
Well, it should provide you with both sides of the argument.
Yeah, और एक नैरेटिव को ना फीड करे.
Yeah.
But sadly we see कि हमारी कंट्री के अंदर कंसिस्टेंटली जो है ना काफ़ी मीडिया आउटलेट जो है ना वो एक स्पेसिफिक नैरेटिव को ही सेट करते हैं.
Yeah.
कुछ एक को करते हैं और कुछ दूसरे को करते हैं, but there is very little मीडिया ऑफ जो आउटलेट है बहुत कम है जो एक्चुअली ऑब्जेक्टिवली चीज़ें बताते हैं दोनों साइड्स.
हाँ, जो both sides बताते हैं ताकि you can.
So basically अगर देखा जाए तो यूजुअली ये होता रहा over the years, but when situations like जो अभी हमारी current situation है where there is a Azadi march that's going to Islamabad, where there are quite a lot of people, millions में, who are headed to the capital. This is the time where we see very clear distinctions, क्योंकि कुछ ना बहुत obvious lies हो जाते हैं. Lies that अगर if a person has information beyond media ना तो he knows that's a lie.
Yeah.
Because he lives in a society जहाँ पे लोग एक ही चीज़ को बता रहे होंगे और वो बिल्कुल उसका झूठ होगा जो मीडिया बता रही है. This entire concept जो है ना इसे fire housing कहते हैं.
Yeah.
Like we researched this
research paper था which was based on Trump's 2016 election.
Yeah.
The context was that Trump based his entire campaign on fire housing.
Basically.
He consistently told lies on national television and media.
Yeah.
Or majority of people knew what he was talking about were obvious lies and propaganda.
Yeah.
But the fact remains that he talked about those things so much in such a high quantity और वो मीडिया पे इतनी वो चीज़ें शो होती थी कि at some point people would argue that it was true. Yeah. Especially people जो उसकी ideology के साथ were मतलब whose opinion was that
similar to that.
right. Yeah.
Basically fire housing के अगर देखा जाए ना तो तीन principles जो research के अंदर बात हुई थी कि there should be lies that are in high volume और एक commitment के साथ करना है, which most of our politicians and our media outlets do. And third के they don't necessarily have to be.
They don't have to have any objective.
हाँ, like there's no need for there to be truth.
Yeah.
अगर हम conventionally सोचें ना तो लोग think कि it's very easy to identify what's right, what's true and what's not true. But in fact इतना simple नहीं होता. Because हमारी definition of truth जो है ना वो किसी की credibility के साथ associated होती है.
Yeah.
And in a political narrative जो है ना वो credibility associated होती है with politicians, right? क्योंकि we see कि हम when we're born in a family जिनकी एक specific political narrative होगा and we are fed that narrative.
Right? Well, since you're continuously from birth, you're fed that narrative और आप शुरू से देख रहे हो.
Yeah.
Your elders, whatever, pursuing that narrative और उसे actively मतलब उसे propagate कर रहे हैं. Not propagate in a bad sense, लेकिन
yeah, basically they're trying to tell you what they think is right. But उसके अलावा when a human person lives in a society उसके साथ उसके दोस्त होते हैं. Then there's media which plays a part. There's social media which plays a part.
Essentially, आपको information इन सारी जगहों से you get the same information.
Yes.
But it's the same narrative.
Yeah. And like basically objectively काम ये होता है media का कि वो question करता है like all sides. And बेसिकली अगर हम देखें ना तो बाय बर्थ पे इंट्यूटिवली ना हम ट्रूथ की सर्च में होते हैं, हम सच्चाई की खोज में होते हैं। सच्चाई की खोज में इस तरह होता है कि हम बचपन में सवाल पूछते हैं कि ये ऐसा क्यों है और ये वैसा क्यों है,
मतलब नेचुरली क्यूरियस नेचर।
यस, बट हम जिस तरह वी ग्रो ओल्डर ना और हमारे कुछ नैरेटिव बन जाते हैं, कुछ चीज़ें हम बिलीव करने लग जाते हैं कि वो सच है, तो फिर इट्स वेरी हार्ड टू क्वेश्चन कि क्या चीज़ सच है, अनलेस कि हमारी इन्वायरमेंट ऐसी हो जो हमें क्वेश्चन करे। एंड मीडिया का बेसिकली एक्टिव रोल होना चाहिए टू हेल्प पीपल क्वेश्चन कि व्हाट्स राइट एंड व्हाट्स रॉन्ग, व्हाट्स ट्रू एंड व्हाट्स नॉट। अच्छा, we're going to take a break for the नमाज right now. Yes, we were talking about how जो मीडिया होता है ना उसका एक एक्टिव पार्ट होता है टू क्वेश्चन पीपल की जो बिलीव्स होते हैं एंड टू एक्चुअली हेल्प देम ऑब्जेक्टिवली रीच टू कि क्या सच है और क्या नहीं सच। एंड स्पेसिफिकली देखा जाए ना अभी तो मीडिया आउटलेट्स जो है इन पाकिस्तान राइट नाउ दे आर नॉट ऑब्जेक्टिवली टेलिंग ऑल दैट। There are so many people who are on the roads, nobody is talking about that. There's bomb shellings that are happening, there's tear gas and nobody is talking about that.
There are raids happening, unwarranted raids at night of certain individuals, or you see cases like individuals being arrested in broad daylight without any arrest warrant.
Yeah, they're actually going into the houses of people without, like, even police does not have the what do you say, jurisdiction to enter a house without permission or without a warrant. And even if you do have a warrant na, so law states that you need to actually actively ask the person if you can come into the house. And if they do not reply and do not respond, only then you have the like, or would be a specific warrant hota hai, there are types of warrants. We're probably going to have a podcast about the legal system and we can talk about wahan pe. But like the point being that there's a lot of places jahan pe na the system is not being followed and media का एक बहुत objective part है to question कि क्यों नहीं हो रहा, and they're not,
and to actually show you these cases के यहाँ ये हो रहा है, this is why all of this is not right, and to question कि why is this happening,
like even internationally, right, this is not a local phenomenon. Israel की example for example,
you see articles popping up कि a Palestinian journalist died, or a Palestinian civilian or a child, they died, where in fact they were actually murdered by Israeli forces. But US media outlets such as CNN वगैरह, they propagate this propaganda
कि जो Palestinian people है वो terrorist है, and like even if you go and talk to the US citizens now, they'll actually believe this.
Because their media is actively,
because their only outlet to Palestine is CNN. ठीक है, and if CNN is saying something तो उनके साथ credibility associated है, and they think what they're trying to say is right. And so यही सारी चीज़ जो है ना, this is happening on a local level right now. This entire concept of fire housing जो है ना, this actually feeds into a very bad narrative, क्योंकि आप अपनी state में your people do not know what's going on around.
They don't know to distinguish between what's going, where things that are going on what's actually right and what's actually wrong.
For example, take example जो भी सुबह हुआ, यास्मीन राशिद's car जो है that was bombarded by police, right? ठीक है, they broke windscreens, they broke glass, ठीक है, they opened doors without any warrant, without any permission, ठीक है. They even if you specifically watch that video, there are a few individuals who are not in police
uniform. Not wearing police uniform at all.
Right? So the question is कि who are those people?
No one's questioning कि वो किधर से आए हैं?
Exactly.
Why are they there? Why is the police not doing anything about it?
Exactly. Who's paid them? If not paid them, if they're doing this of their own free will, but why are they doing this? Police की एक रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है टू क्वेश्चन ए सिविलियन कि वो क्यों एक कार के ऊपर लाइक ऑब्जेक्टिवली वो कर रहा है, लाइक शीशे वगैरह तो रहा है. लेट्स इवन से कि पुलिस हैज़ द जुरिसडिक्शन टू डू इट, व्हिच दे डोंट वैसे, बट इवन इफ वी गिव देम द बेनिफिट आउट, those civilians should not.
Still, the civilian doesn't have any right whatsoever.
Yeah, and the police should question that.
Yeah.
It's as simple as saying कि अगर पुलिस जो कर रही है उसके साथ चार और लोग वो करने लग जाए तो वो सही नहीं हो जाएगा, क्योंकि you're taking law into your own hand, and that's not right. But more specifically देखा जाए ना तो it feeds to a very bigger narrative कि हमारी गवर्नमेंट के अंदर कुछ politicians हैं, there's some political parties who are feeding into the narrative of fascism. right?
Exactly.
देखा जाए ना तो what they're trying to do is कि उनके narrative के खिलाफ कोई भी है ना तो they'll clamp down on them. Whether that's media,
outlets, individuals from opposing political parties, anyone with an opposing political viewpoint.
exactly, they'll do active efforts to clamp down on them, and this feeds into a very bad narrative. आप देखो तो अभी न्यूज़ आउटलेट्स जो है वो एक पार्टी को शो कर रहे होंगे and they will neglect the entirety of the entire set. और मीडिया की ना एक रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी टू portray the message. और देखा जाए तो right now they're not doing it. There's so many people on the road and there's no talk about why they're on the road.
Yeah.
Right? More specifically ना, if we try to conclude this, so right now we're in a position जहाँ पे we're as Pakistanis, ठीक है, as people of this country, we need to question कि what's right and what's wrong, ठीक है?
And if you're only consuming एक side की information, आप essentially एक narrative के गुलाम बन जाते हो.
हाँ.
एक सोच के गुलाम बन जाते हो आप.
Specifically.
और आपकी capacity to think outside of that narrative
वो खत्म
हो जाती है.
Yeah, बिल्कुल ऐसे ही. And I think now is the responsibility, we all need to take the responsibility to question कि जो हो रहा है वो क्यों हो रहा है and why is it happening. And I feel the people right now and I'm extremely happy कि किस तरह लोगों को ना they realize कि what's going on and they're actively making efforts to change it.
Yeah.
And I think that really feeds into a positive growth mindset of this country. Stating that right now we're in a very slim spot and probably heading for the worst right now. But this struggle will pay off if we stay true to what's actually true and if we question what's wrong.
Yeah.
With that, I think we'll end this podcast for now. And thank you for listening to us.